Hello and welcome to the latest Business Spotlight interview. Today it's my great pleasure to have Richie Donnelly with me. Richie is owner and founder of Natur Co and also FIFO Capital. Richie, how are you today?
All good, Rich. All good. Can't complain.
Look,
Thanks.
delighted you could join us. Why don't you tell us a wee bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for?
Yeah, so I'm a 31-year-old business owner. I suppose a bit of a background. I was heavily involved with sport as a young kid, right up until the present moment. Still heavily involved in sport, and it was probably the main focus in my life for a number of years. But as I approached my 30s, I knew I kind of had to switch my focus to the afterlife, as they call it, from high school sport. So
Yeah,
uh, I always had a really good interest in business and a flair for business and new ideas and concepts. And I always did have a strong belief that I wanted to own my own business. In what shape or form that came, I wasn't sure at the time. And there's times I'm still thinking I could go into different industries, different avenues. I just have I suppose, a really good spirit for entrepreneurialism and opportunities and ideas, and I'm constantly always looking out for things like that and new innovations that could be effective in any industry. So I'm very, very passionate about that, and I suppose that's led me into I done a degree in business in Ulster University, and then went on to do a master's in business innovation and development, which was
fantastic.
really good and really enjoyable and a very, very well run course. The business faculty in Ulster University is very strong there, so that was a great experience. And then I suppose we went into a bit of sales work. Now part of my decision with that was it was quite a flexible career choice that was very compatible with the time and energy that I wanted to put into my sport, which is
Yeah,
getting couple with Tyrone here. So I was heavily immersed in the sporting world, but as I say, my focus started to drift then towards really trying to build a career and a business and putting my passion alongside sport, putting my passion into business and running a business. So that's led me to Nature Co, which is my first startup.
yeah,
It's a social wellness club based in Oma down in Tyrone here. So I suppose a snapshot of it, we have a cafe space, 45-seater cafe. We have hot desk and space within that, laptop station, stuff like that. We do quite a simple menu with overnight oats, organic sourdough toasties, organic acai, yogurt and granola bowls, stuff like that. Very simplistic, but a healthy and a response, or you could say a responsible menu that all the ingredients in that are ethically sourced and that. So
excellent. Good.
then we have the yoga Pilates studio, fitness studio, infrared sauna studio, and then we have the boardroom and the club rooms as we call it. So that's the room I'm sitting in now. So it's a 18-seater boardroom that can be rented out for business meetings, reviews, interviews, strategy days, think tanks, stuff like that. So it kind of encapsulates all elements of wellness, creativity, conversation, connection, stuff like that. And it's all under the one roof, and that's kind of what I have created here, and that's all born out of my own, I suppose, beliefs and values and passions on around wellness and lifestyle choices that I make myself in terms of I like to eat good food for my health and performance. I use the sauna a lot for my health. I exercise a lot for my health and performance, and I love good coffee. So it's tying everything that I'm interested in, and it's heavily linked to my values, and it's connecting all of them up and creating it into I suppose, a living on a business that I'm very proud of. Um,
Fantastic.
so
Um,
we're open 3 years now in July.
Sounds great. Three years in July. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
so t t tell us a wee bit about the FIFO Capital as well then. How does that dovetail?
Yes, so the FIFO Capital again, me passion for, I suppose, entrepreneurialism and business. I done a year in Bank of Ireland, a placement year, and got an insight into the finance industry. And then I suppose it's an example. The FIFA Capital opportunity came from, I suppose, the network that I created and built through sport. That I'm very lucky that I can can have them opportunities within my network. And a good friend, Declan Devlin, he's the owner of FIFO Capital, and he's presented me with an opportunity to help and go into business in that world. And FIFO Capital specializes in invoice finance, supply chain, cash flow finance solutions, stuff like that. So it's a good business and a very relevant business at the minute, especially with a climate that some businesses could be struggling cash flow wise, even though they're really successful and performing really well. It's just a good solution to fix and solve short-term cash flow issues. So, Declan very kindly presented me with the opportunity, and it's one that I'm glad to take.
Excellent. Excellent. So do you want to focus maybe a wee bit on Nature Co, as that's your own organization that you've been going with now for 3 years, obviously on the back of your sporting expertise and involvement. So if we think of Nature Co, who's an ideal customer for that?
I've been asked this a few times,
Yeah.
and challenged on it as well in terms of like a consultancy and a marketing firm that I use. They're trying to create like my ideal avatars of who my target is, but when I genuinely say we have people from 10, 11, 12 years of age that come in here, their parents drop them off and they come in, they get a smoothie, and we have right up until mid 70s, early 80s, ladies that walk out. There's a footpath here out from the town. They walk out maybe twice a week. They have a tea and a toasty, and it genuinely ranges from them two extremes.
Yes.
The in between is active mums who come for Pilates on a Tuesday, actually, which is today. They come for Pilates on a Tuesday morning. We have running groups that use the Antidote Foundation, a great organization in the local community. They run here 2 nights a week out in the track, and they all come in for coffee and a social element as well. So like it ranges, it's quite a vast range of customers.
Very good. And then the boardroom that you're sitting in, you said that as well as some of the other facilities are available for hire. So maybe a larger company would say, right, I'm going to have a strategy meeting in there and take themselves off for the day.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see that like there's more opportunity in that space than I thought, because we have a lot of good companies like local engineering firms. We have Kerry Food Group have a big manufacturing plant here in the town. Worth Ireland, they have a sales team across the north and south. And what I'm finding is a lot of the executives in these companies actually like to get off site because they have a change of scenery. They can maybe have more creative conversations and different approaches to strategy and review and stuff like that. So I'm finding there's a need and a want for that, which is great. It's a nicely, I suppose, refurb space that it's nearly designed in a way. There's nice creative artwork. It's designed in a color scheme that encourages creativity and good headspace, and it all kind of ties in. So it's a really interesting space that's quite busy, thank God.
Super, superb. So, Richie, what's been your biggest learning since becoming a business owner yourself?
It's been funny, I suppose, since I opened the doors here, it's just kind of taken off. And it's only now coming into the third year where I'm actually starting to reflect and I suppose challenge how I'm doing things, how the business is doing, what systems. So I'm genuinely, and it might sound mad, I'm actually only at the stage of where I'm starting to consciously learn and reflect and take on learnings, whereas before, as soon as we opened the doors, it just took off and it was crazy, and it was more I was like a day-to-day business owner. I wasn't even a business owner. I was literally working day to day in the
Yeah,
business.
yeah, and
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. Whereas now this year I've taken a step back from playing with Tyrone for the year. So
okay,
and part of that reason was for me to kind of deep dive into my business and deep dive into myself, for like just really get to know myself and what makes me tick and what makes the business tick, what works and what doesn't. So I'm very much early in the learning stage in terms of being a business owner.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit, but it sounds bizarre 3 years in, but
No,
um
not at all.
but I suppose some of the learnings that have stood out in recent months, it would be it's very hard to lead a business when you don't really understand yourself and can't lead yourself.
Yeah.
So that's been really challenging and really tough to really look inside and go inwards to try to understand yourself. And it really is, now that I reflect, it's like, how the hell can you lead a team or lead staff when you actually can't really lead yourself because you don't know yourself to the right level? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's been really challenging but really good. And I'm still very much going through that process, but it's one big learning that it's not complete, but it's one I'm going through and one that I'm aware of now.
That's
So that,
that's that's a great share, Richie, because sometimes people don't even think about that, and we would always teach that you have to be the person in order to do what you need to do in order to have what it is that you're dreaming of. So that whole being part that you're talking about is critical to the whole journey for any business owner.
yeah. And then I suppose the next bit would be the creating a vision that your staff can align to and your team can see themselves, and then I suppose creating roles within that that allows them to contribute to that overall vision. So that's very much, again, I'm in the early stages of that, and I'm creating that now myself in terms of planning that out so that I can start to lead that and share. And I suppose off the back of that, then what you do, your processes and systems are what will that'll inform into the vision of the overall picture. So that's kind of a process I'm going through. It's by no means complete. And again, I'm very lucky. I have a lot of good friends that are very knowledgeable in that space
Yeah.
that I can lean on, and people in my network that I can lean on and ask for advice. So um this year is a very much a year of growth, and it's ongoing, and it's by no means anywhere near complete.
Of course, of course. And I think growing for anybody, it's a lifelong process, you know. As soon as we think we've arrived, we'll suddenly realize here we have not. We're far from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I say this year only is growth, you're totally right. It's constant growth when you're in business and in life. But I would say this year is more so, instead of saying it's a year of growth, it's probably a starting point for me in terms of my future and business and off the field stuff as well. Because I suppose, call a spade, when you play intercounty football, nothing will you perceive nothing else to be important or of value in life, really. You just live in a tunnel, and you live in a bubble where everything you do, how you eat, how you sleep, the people you surround yourself with is totally focused on sport and high level sport. So,
Yeah,
and performance. And with that comes a lot of challenges. So whenever you raise your head out of that bubble, there's a lot of learning, and you have to learn to swim again in
sure.
real life.
Sure. So, what's the biggest issue that you've overcome in the business?
It's probably in the early days. I so I left my sales job on like the 27th of February 2020, and national lockdown came on the 3rd of March, I think it was. And so I was resigned from my job, 6 days, and national lockdown came. I fell through the net for furlough support and all of that, and I was a new startup, had no returns done. So I hadn't even traded actively, really. So I fell through the net for all types of support and grants and stuff like that. So I was living on the dole for over a year, I would say. But I kind of used that time, I would say, to build a vision. And I think I spent maybe 3, 4 months painting the facility that I'm in currently.
Yeah, yeah,
Painted the outside, the inside. So I used the time well, and I kind of embraced the struggle, but that was a big challenge because I was 28 at the time,
yeah,
and to be 28 and on the dole and living with your parents and not able to afford your car payments, stuff like that. I suppose that was a big challenge. Now, to be fair, I'm very lucky. I come from a really good family that are very supportive, and I would never have been stuck by any
yeah,
stretch of the imagination. But I was very I suppose I really embraced that struggle. Like I didn't seek financial assistance. I was really actually keen to see how I could really deal with this struggle and I suppose the financial burden of just living and surviving. So I actually really enjoyed that and experienced a lot of growth in that. So that was the biggest challenge probably. So we eventually got open here in July 2021. So it was quite a long process in terms of, I suppose they call it taking the jump. Like I was jumping off the cliff, but it was falling for a long time before I actually
Yeah,
landed on anything.
it's a huge stretching process, that one.
It was, but
And what would have been a key learning in that?
I suppose my ability to be resilient and face down challenges, which is obviously very important for life and sport and business. So, I took great confidence in that I can really overcome a lot of resistance and a lot of diversity. And I suppose with that came, obviously, as I say, my financial budget was totally blown just by purely surviving. So anything
Yeah.
I had saved, I had to just use it to live on because I couldn't obviously trade as a business. So it forced me to be very creative with the business model and how I suppose brought the space to life. So to give you an example, what that looks like, the whole cafe space is kitted out with pallets. So I have a friend that owns or he's an MD of a wholesale drinks company.
Okay. Yeah.
He donated 61 pallets. That is my full furniture plan. So it forced me to be creative because I had no budget.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, as I say, I painted the whole inside, outside of the building. All the woodwork, everything was done by family and friends at a very lenient price.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to be very creative with design, how I brought the space to life. And I suppose that what I learned from that was I've quite a good creative ability. And I suppose I have a good response to pressure. And I now nearly find myself for me to get anything done, I need to have pressure or constraints on it for me to deliver. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I suppose we're going 3 years. It's been in constant growth. And what I've also learned, my lack of systems and rules and clarity within the business, it's really challenged my cash flow now. So like I was in
Okay.
constant growth.
Yeah.
It's now I'm now starting to see and learn. It's like, well, if you don't respect your systems or have systems and policies in place, then you might be running a good business. It could be a busy business, but it's not actually a really high performing business. So that's where I'm finding myself now. It's like, right, I'm starting to challenge that and start to dig into that and learn. And a lot of it is self-learning. Like I'm just kind of again looking inwards and seeing, right, what am I doing here? Like, am I running a really good ship here? Which I really wasn't. I was really busy. The footfall was really high, like everything going really well. But it's like you need to really dig into the numbers and processes and understand the business. So that's really where I'm at now, is really trying to understand that and put plans in place for it. So again, there's growth in that and there's challenges in that.
Course. Yeah, it's great. And a great sharings for our community that's watching. Good learnings for them. So, who inspires you in business?
There's I'd be quite traditional in that way. Like obviously I do a lot of listening to self-help and self-development reading stuff like that. And there's obviously a lot of popular names out there that like Stephen Bartlett, who's very relevant at the minute. But the more I dig into it, it's like there's a lot of people that are very close to home that are running businesses at different levels and scales, but
Yeah,
all the same characteristics and principles apply. And I've started to have I suppose, a newfound respect for a lot of the people that are closer to home.
sure.
They're looking overseas and looking at billionaires and multimillionaires. I think a lot of the learnings and inspiration can actually come closer than you think. So I have a lot of great friends, a lot of great people in my life that are on a really good energy and frequency that I love to learn from them. I love to hang out with them and speak with them and bounce things off. So there's a good friend, the likes of Anthony Kieran there, that has opened the Regency House in Belfast. Really good friend, really good guy, and doing great things in the hospitality scene in Belfast. And like being in that sort of circle with Kieran May and them guys, like that really energizes me and really inspires me.
Brilliant.
That's just an example of people close to home that I've
That's
really
great.
started to appreciate.
Yeah, and I love hearing ones where it's folks from the local community or from our own country,
Yeah.
you know, because so many people look, like you say, to the millionaires, multimillionaires, the billionaires that are known all over the world. But it's great when it's people on our doorstep that inspire us.
Yeah, totally.
So you mentioned Stephen Bartlett as well there, obviously author of Diary of a CEO and his Dragon's Den, and he has his podcasts. Are there any sort of favorite books you have outside of him, or a favorite podcast that you link into, whether that's daily or weekly or whatever?
Yeah, I go through moods. I try to read daily. It's kind of my staple, but there's days it just leaves me. Like I kind of read before when I get into bed before I sleep.
Yeah,
I find that it promotes me into a deeper sleep. I track a lot of my sleep data and that, and it helps me sleep better. But I would try and read most days, and I find myself reading a lot of the likes of Ryan Holiday,
hmm
based around like stoicism and stillness and stuff like that. But again, it can be quite contradictory in that I can live a manic lifestyle for like 8 weeks where it's like total opposite of stillness.
yeah,
You go back and you read and you're like, oh, you remind yourself all this running about and trying to be busy and stuff like that. It's so you move in and out of phases, and I suppose I kind of see it as you have resistance and struggle, then you basically rest, and then that's where you see growth, and then you go again. So
yeah,
the kind of goes in cycles where things are running smoothly, things are great, and then it's like under the surface, there's wee issues and problems that'll start to come to surface maybe after 6 weeks, and you resolve them, and then you're exhausted, and then you go again. So it's like a cycle nearly in business, but that's all part of the challenge. But Ryan Holiday's work I really like, and then what other ones? Dale Carnegie's stuff's really good. I like his. There's a lot of books I've
always
read
good.
that I actually don't remember the author's name.
Sure.
I'm not good with remembering like
Yeah.
famous people's names or anything like that, but a lot of self-help books related around human performance, health, business performance, stuff like that. So
Very good. And
yeah,
Dale Carnegie, it's hard to get bigger than that.
yeah,
So
it's very
good,
good.
good recommendation. So tell us a wee bit about what the future looks like for Nature Co, for yourself, and what you would see as main challenges going forwards.
I suppose my main challenge going forward is, well, I suppose my vision going forward, I'd like to grow the finance business with FIFO. It's a really good model, really good business and a great solution for a lot of SMEs out there, north and south. So, I'd like to grow that. Suppose the challenges with that is investment. I'm currently seeking investment so that I can obviously put more capital to work as such. So that's the early stage challenge with that model and that business. And suppose with Nature and Co, I'm probably in the sticking point of, do I go with number two or number three, or do I stick with one? That's the challenge I'm going through at the minute as to whether I proceed with that or franchise it or go again. So I'm very much, as I say, I've only this year I'm really looking inwards and starting to try to discover what is my path forward. And I don't think I have the answers to that yet. I do know of these two businesses that I want to grow and do well with. So where that leads me, I'm not sure.
Well, every success, no matter where that path leads, and as you go forward and meeting all those challenges. So, what would you say to anybody else who's thinking of going into business for themselves?
I think you have to find and pick something you believe in and really like genuinely just go for it. Now, there is context to be brought to that in that some people may have kids depending on them, they may have a mortgage. Like that transition is important, and it's important to kind of line that out and get that out in paper to understand, right? what is my bare minimum that I need in terms of income, and try to bridge a gap, whether you reduce your working time to work towards another venture or starting your own business. But you do need to just take action and bringing it to life and really making a robust plan around it. Now my approach was very black and white. Like, I just woke up one day and sent an email, said I was resigning. I'd be very like that in terms of, if I see something, I just go and do it. I don't overthink things too much or over plan. I just have an instinct and a gut feeling, and I just do it. And I've great trust in my own gut. And whereas for others, depending on their makeup, they want to be really analytical and have a clear plan and have a really phased approach. So like, it's not a one size fits all. But what I would say, and I just see it on your background here, action is a big word there.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
take action, whether it's a small step or in the plan or the overall plan, but take action in a vision and I suppose a concept that you believe in and that you can apply energy to, and go for it. But have an end goal in place, I suppose, or in mind, where it's important to know what you really want to achieve out of it, whether it's freedom, whether it's something you're like really, really passionate about that you just want to be doing every day. But have an overall plan, because I don't overly believe in that you have to live and breathe a passion to own a business in that sort of space. Um, I believe you can have traits of entrepreneurialism and innovation that you just love bringing ideas to life.
yeah, yeah,
You don't necessarily have to be like overboard passionate about that one thing every day you wake up and live and breathe it.
yeah.
Um, some people just can be creative and very passionate about business in general, and you see them operating in a number of spaces. So it's not a one size fits all, I don't think.
100%, Richie.
Action's a big one to answer your question. Just take
Yeah,
action.
great. Sounds like you're very aligned with Action Coach and all of their philosophies as well.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
last question, just as we wrap up, and I know it's not that far back, but if you were able to roll the clock back to when you were 18, what's the best piece of advice you would give an 18-year-old Richie Donnelly?
Um, Something that's always stuck with me, how you treat people always comes back to you. And I don't say that from a higher place, that I've
Yeah,
treated everyone in an exemplary way. Like, I've fell out with people, I've hurt people, unintentionally most of the time and without knowing. But one thing that's really stood out to me through the years is something as small as a 5 second interaction with a stranger, and 6 years down the line, you walk into a room and that stranger's in the room and they remember that interaction.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
And it's just like, whoa, imagine I did treat that person poorly or didn't respect them or didn't greet them, then this would be a different energy in this room. The door would be very much closed on potential opportunities. It's crazy how many times that has surfaced in my, suppose, the last 10, 12 years of my life, where it's like, geez, thank God I was a nice person or carried myself
yeah,
well
yeah,
or with a scenario in that way, because you never know when people surface in your life.
totally.
And they could be bystanders or standing at the back of a room and observing
Yeah,
without you even knowing they're there or existed.
yeah,
And they surface at some stage in your life, and they remember, people remember small details of how you made them feel, or the impression that you gave out and what energy you had. So I think the lesson in that is, no matter what age you are, what room you step into, treat people well and treat them with respect.
totally. And I can't think of a better piece of advice to give somebody. So that's great, Richie. Look, really appreciate you cutting time out of your busy schedule for us. I know you're flying off early in the morning, so all the best for that trip, safe trip, and all the best for both the businesses and the businesses that are to come. And look, it's been a delight to have you on today, and wish you all the best for the future.
Pleasure, Rich. Appreciate the invite and look forward to seeing you soon at one of the events.
You're welcome. Yes, we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Take care.
You too.